Welcome to Season 3 of the Retail Tea Break podcast. My name is Melissa Moore, the Retail Advisor, and each week I'll be joined by industry experts, retailers, and product creators to decode the myths, share knowledge, and give you an insight into the industry. So grab your cup of tea, sit back, relax, and listen in to Season 3 of the Retail Tea Break podcast. Today's episode of the Retail Tea Break podcast is sponsored by the local enterprise office here in County Mayo to celebrate National Women's Enterprise Day. So I'm joined by an award-winning fashion and textiles designer, a maker, and an educator, inspired by the richness of Ireland's textile history, from Irish lace to the iconic Paisley shawls. My guest today has translated these references into her award-winning collection of scarves. Lou Brennan, welcome to the Retail Tea Break podcast.
Oh, hi, Melissa. It's lovely to join you today and to have the opportunity to tell you a little about my business and to sort of catch up, with you after sort of a few ages ago. Yeah,
it's lovely. I'm delighted we can do this. I've been wanting to get you on for a while, so it's wonderful that we can celebrate you today, as it is National Women's Enterprise Day. It's a mouthful, but it's lovely to have you here. So look, in the age-old fashion of the Retail Tea Break podcast, in the time it takes to boil a kettle, which is about 2 minutes, tell me a little bit about you and the business.
Okay, so, well, as you introduced me, I'm fashion textile designer, and I always have been. And I started my career, I started my journey in University of Brighton. Then I went to NCAD, and then I left and I went to work for John Rusher as his textile manager for a few years, which was amazing. And then I returned to London and I had a studio, and I used to do like amazing catwalk pieces for like Alexander McQueen and Essential Iron, as well as, become a freelance designer. And I had an agent in London. And then I moved back to Ireland about 20 years ago. So my parents are from Ireland. They're from the West. They're from Mayo. They're from Kiltimar. They're both from Kiltimar. And so Ireland was always home. And I think that really informs the collection. I was speaking when I did my first, I'm probably going a little bit off track now, but when I did my first show in showcase, at the RDS, which was sponsored. It was helped with the aid from the LEO. It was there was an enterprise zone, so that was like an opportunity to sort of like have a space, meet customers and everything. And I remember Deirdre McQuillan came up, and to me from the Irish Times, and she was saying like, God, this, there's so much here. What is it that's what is it about this? But she said, I get it. She said when you are from a family where your parents had to leave, everything about Ireland is so important. It's so, and I see it with other cultures, whether they're from India or Africa or wherever. I can see you kind of cling on to, elements of that culture. So, and you dive into it. So like growing up in London, we did the Irish dancing, the Irish music,
it's
the Irish
amazing
football.
how similar our upbringings and our stories have been.
Funny, isn't it?
I completely agree. You grab onto that culture, that little bit of home, even though home from a different country is an almost a distant memory. It certainly was for me, but she was dead right, because really you see that inspiration through everything you do.
Yeah, and it means so much. So I suppose that's why I just wouldn't. This is, I suppose, my collection. It kind of comes from a frustration and not finding answers. I'm thinking, there wasn't enough out there when I was looking for, answers to like, why were the shawls with that pattern, or where did they come from, or misinformation, finding out, being really frustrated. So that's kind of what it's all about, and it's growing and growing. And so I suppose, like I said, I'll just backtrack a little bit. I, freelance designer for a long time, but then when I moved back to Ireland, it wasn't feasible. You need to be in contact with your agent. You need to visit regularly. My family came along and everything. So then, when they got to a point, maybe when they started school, I really wanted to get back to work. And that's when I was really surprised at myself, as in I hadn't realised how much confidence I had lost, and how underskilled I was to start my own business. So actually the real the light bulb moment or whatever was I went to a National Women's Enterprise Day. A friend of mine said, look, you've got to go to Galway. She said it's overnight. It was when the National Women's Enterprise Day was kind of over a series of days, and you had an opportunity to sign up for mentoring sessions. So off I went, booked into the hotel. I think it was at the Galway Bay, the Salt Hill. Anyway, and it was amazing, and it was like kind of terrifying, amazing, exhilarating. And I remember there was one speaker, and she said, I think, but there was a lady from Appassionata Flowers, and there's so many anyway. And she was saying, like, if you want to run your own business, sometimes you have to ask yourself, if something happens, if it blindsides you, you have to ask them, are you the right person? Maybe you should be in a support position, in a supporting role in a company. But it kind of like, actually, I was like, no, do you know what? I am okay. I'm not going to be blindsided. It kind of like that kind of, that stubborn thing in me kind of like rose up a little bit. But it was brilliant. We met people, and, it was all sort of, there was, as I said, the mentoring sessions and networking and everything. So that was, my first introduction to the whole, this world of women trying to get businesses running, and, and women who had set them up. Yeah.
And it's lovely, I think, to be around women like that who are energized and want to support each other, but are also on that same journey, because it can be quite lonely being out there, being a maker, being a solopreneur. What other ways then have the local enterprise office supported you over the last few years?
Well, there's been workshops, like start your own business was really good. I did that. And then there's like different mentoring days that they put on, whether it's like building your brand, marketing. So I'd always, tap into that, advice, say for your website. I'm trying to think what else. And then, of course, it really is, it's showcase. For me, it's the opportunity.
The big one.
To apply for the TAME grant and go and because it's even with the grant, it's really expensive, especially when you're in Mayo. It's not, you can't go home at night, so you have to sort of stay quite near the venue, the RDS, and it's everything else is just like all your display and everything. But anyway, and and your sample collection, but that's brilliant. I love it. So it's back on again this year. So again, after I did it last year as well, and which was amazing to see all the customers again. You can't replicate the face-to-face, and you never know, what a customer's going to say, what they like, or what they might like to change. Sometimes it's just something you can't, like, because you say working on your own, lonely, it can be lonely, but you can be in your own bubble and just not, sort of. I remember another friend has a business. She was saying, you've got to understand that your favorite might be everyone else's favorite. You have to listen, and
that's really interesting as well, because I think, again, with Showcase, you've got everyone else's opinions, you're seeing lots of people, but I think what's quite comforting about the local enterprise office area is that you have this support, because actually everyone alongside you is feeling the same way, is running a small business as well, might be a bit new at this, or maybe it's their first time, but you've been there before, so you can help them along. There's always a real warmth in that area of people supporting each other.
Exactly. So that's been brilliant. I'm trying to, and the other thing that was amazing was the Design and Crafts Council ran a program, the BCDE, the Building, Craft and Design program. Now, they didn't run it in Mayo, but I was able to join the girls, or the group in Galway. So girls, now there was, there was both, there was male and female. It was, predominantly women, but there was a couple of guys, and that was amazing. And then on the back of that program, there was the exporting. I'm trying to think, what was it called?
The export. It's a great help.
That's the actual name and everything. And you got the opportunity to travel to Paris, and again, you're kind of with the group. And sometimes, it's like everyone says, it's often the conversations outside of the program as much as the ones within the program that are of huge value. So yeah, I've been really fortunate, with Mayo Elio, and had some great.
It's brilliant. And I think you mentioned so much there that, again, I feel, certainly working within this industry, lots of people don't realize that actually there's loads of programs, advice, emailing them, picking up the phone, having a look on the website, everything, as you've mentioned, from the mentoring to the workshops to the training to the trading online voucher. And there are grants there as well. So it's definitely a resource that I think is underutilized and definitely worth having a look at. So For you, then, as the business has grown, you've obviously continued to develop, the business has diversified slightly as of you and
Yeah.
what you do. Tell us a bit more about, I suppose, that journey and maybe how the range has changed as well.
Yeah, so I suppose I started, well, I answered a problem for my own self. I remember like when you're busy and you want to run out the door, and sometimes you just want something just to sort of brighten up. So I think I've just have it down. This was like one of the first, one of these lovely big sort of like silk blended scarves. I remember thinking if I just have something with a bit of colour, this was like a range that I did, and it was all with based on Irish lace. And this was kind of like one of the first things I developed. But this was all fine and well for a couple of years. But I used to sit in my studio and I think I'm really cold and I wanted like a really warm scarf. So to develop the range, then I started working with a mill in the west of Ireland. So I have like these really lovely knitted scarves made with merino wool. And I'm developing my next range now. So again, getting to know this technology, is a little bit challenging, because I would be a print designer mostly. And so it's always kind of moving on, and I'm trying to think what else. And then, as you mentioned, like in the introduction, I am an educator as well. Like during lockdown, it was quite challenging again, but I've always done workshops, and I decided then if I could run some workshops if I could run some courses, I should say, in the future with accreditation. So I went back to NUAG during lockdown and I did the diploma in further education. So it was a part-time 2-year level 8. So that was great. So I've just finished that. And again, just because, again, you've got all these skills and experience, but it's to be able to pass it on as well, And again, whenever, as any teacher will tell you, any educator, you get as much from the students, your interaction, and then again, that can feed back into your own, design practice. So again, and that was another thing when I used to go to showcase, I presumed that everybody made their living solely out of their running their business, their collection. But I'd meet friends who would have a business around, they'd work with wood and said, oh no, we teach twice a week in DIT or whatever, So it's really, it's really interesting. Or the ceramicists, often they teach once a week or whatever.
Well,
So
that's incredible because
yeah,
it's not necessarily spoken about. I think everyone presumes
exactly.
a maker
Yeah,
spends 24 hours a day, 7 days a
yeah,
week, grafting
yeah,
away, making
yeah,
their pieces and selling them on. But actually,
exactly.
it's really important to have that kind of extra income coming in.
Yeah,
But from the
yeah,
other perspective, it is a wonderful opportunity to share knowledge, share
yeah,
skills, teach and kind of educate others in this
yeah,
incredible craftsmanship that
yeah.
in your respect doesn't want to be lost, but
That's
also
it.
like
Yeah,
you're passing on your knowledge, which is
yeah,
incredible.
yeah. And I love it. And again, going back to working solo, it's quite isolating, and you get a chance to go out and you meet people, maybe other lecturers, other tutors. So again, that's another plus. But you can have this idea that you're not doing it right, you're on your own, you're trying to fund it all. It's strange. It's like you can be really hard on yourself in the beginning getting a business going, and you know and it's, again, you just got to get out there, go to, like, whether it's National Women's Enterprise Day. And another program I did that was fantastic was the Empower program. It was with GMIT in the Innovation Hubs with Maria Staunton. That was amazing as well. That was huge for confidence building, that one.
Wow.
Again, we were told, we said near the end, it was a 12-week program, I think, and it kind of rotated between Mayo, Sligo, and Leitrim. Is that right? I think it was. Oh no, Mayo, Galway, and Roscommon. I'm getting it wrong now. That was it. And oh my God, we used to. And again, you make friends for life. And there's like a range of businesses, whether it's photographers. There was Olga from Mayo Photography, and there was Olga Klovak, and I'm trying to think who else. There were so many of us, and Cookalicious, Septiman, and you see their businesses grow. You help each other when you're trying to get your website going, and you have those discussions that you can't have with anyone else, when you're on your own. So that was brilliant. But again, Maria really kind of, like she said, right at the end, you have to stand in the lecture theatre in GMIT and do a 4-minute pitch, with your PowerPoint behind you. Oh my God, it's like, I don't think any
Wow.
of us look forward to Christmas that Christmas, because all we could think about. But it was the best thing, because it was like, once you've done it, it's like anything, you just say, oh my God, I can do this now, And then, since that was years ago, but then you see, I would be asked, then I got a phone call there from Galway, the museum, will you give an illustrated talk? Well, I could say yes. You
Yeah.
just never realized how it kind of like transferred all those skills. And you just, because so it's all those, how
They're
can I explain?
little things, but actually they're
Yeah.
really
They
vital
all add
because, again,
up. They
you
are.
are so skilled, you are so knowledgeable about your
Yeah.
craft, what you
Yeah.
make. But actually, these are business skills that aren't the
Yeah.
accounting, they're not
Yeah.
marketing. So being able to talk about and pitch your business like that, or
Yeah.
sell yourself, which, again,
That's
if you
it.
lack
Yeah.
confidence,
Yeah.
it's really hard to do. So surrounding
Yeah.
yourself with good people, but also
Yeah.
being pushed outside your comfort zone.
That's
Like,
it.
by the sounds of it, that is a core skill in your business now. You
Yeah.
can use it for whether it's on camera with me, whether that's, as you say, kind of talking to other students or even at
Yeah.
business events. And again, it's something that's not necessarily taught
Yeah.
unless you go along and you do a workshop or you
Yeah.
push yourself out of your comfort zone.
Yeah. I mean, again, I remember when Empower Start started, I think it was the first or second day, they said, everyone now will go around the room and everyone stand up and tell us something that you hadn't, tell us a little bit about yourself and something we didn't know about you. It was like an icebreaker. Well, I think I was nearly in tears the first day,
Oh,
and I didn't recognize myself, and again, by the end, I was, that was behind me, and I was well able. I think it was just the emotion. You build it up. Your business means so much to you. There's so much going on in your head. So maybe it's, just, so that it was vital. Oh my God. And then it just meant, again, that skill, whatever, standing up. When I did do my first showcase in the enterprise zone, with the help of Mayo LEO, I had to stand there and meet customers. And as I've said to everyone, and I've talked about it before, I'm fine about going into a room. I would go to any event on my own, no problem, chat to someone at the coffee machine or whatever. I'm really happy, but it's a different thing when you have to stand and talk about what means something to you, like your business. It's, as you said, it's a business skill. I just hadn't kind of appreciated that I would struggle with, which I don't now, but I did, at the beginning. I was shocked at myself, and even my family, my sister's a teacher, and she had to do the 4-minute video in the beginning she had to help me as part of the application from Power Start. And even she said, Lou, what's happened to you? Where's your confidence gone? And I said, oh my God, it was, all we were doing was trying to use the iPhone to do a 4-minute video, to get on the program. But anyway, and so it's just those things. It's no harm to talk about it, because there might be somebody out there wanting, again, at an earlier start in their journey, but go to things, that there is so many events, so much help, workshops. I see them all the time on the LEO website, and they come in and sign up for the emails and register. And as I say, whatever's going, just go to it. You'll always get something, won't you? If someone's giving a talk, even Enterprise Island will do it, and I'll go to it because I think I'll get something from this.
It sounds
Yeah,
like you push yourself outside your comfort zone, which actually
yeah,
in the long term really helps. But also, what fascinates me there is the fact that you're incredibly confident talking to you, chatting to you before meeting you. But when
yeah,
it comes to talking about something that you're so passionate about,
yeah,
it becomes super personal. So, as you said,
yeah,
you put yourself in front of buyers or retailers
yeah,
who own their brands, who are looking for the next new thing to put in their
yeah.
shop, and you just can't tell their reaction. So there's you super
Yes.
emotional,
Yeah.
but also they
Yes.
might not want you. And what I mean
Yeah.
by that is it's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
you they don't want, it's your
Exactly.
product. But yet we take
Exactly.
it so
So
personally.
personally, exactly, exactly. And I think that was one thing. As again, it was a small part of the program with Empower Start, and I think I mentioned to you before. One of the uh, things we had to do on the exercises was the marketing exercise, and we were given a list of, I think it was 10. You had to come up with a list of 10 people you had approached between the date we were talking about marketing, and we were all given a little session then with Maria Staunton, maybe 4 weeks time, an hour session to talk about how you got on with this marketing exercise. But you had to have contacted these 10 people, and 3 of them you had to have met face to face. Oh my God, there were so many of us. We were so early stage. We were like, oh my God, it was like the worst homework, at the time, we thought, because again, we were just so nervous. It was rejection.
Yeah.
And it was the best thing, as I said, because you were ringing up. I remember I was ringing up companies, ringing up buyers and shops and boutiques, whatever. And I was explaining I was on part of the Empower Start program. you know, was there a time at their convenience I could just show the collection and get feedback. So again, I didn't feel I was going in with the heavy sell, you know, it just took the pressure off. And actually, I think I said before, on all 3 occasions, I really enjoyed going in because you would just tell you that I just felt there was no pressure to sell. I wasn't going to get rejection. All I was expecting was some helpful advice. That's all I wanted. And actually, I got orders from all 3. And I walked away, and it was like, I think Maria probably knew this was going to happen. I don't know, but it was brilliant, you know, and it pushed us. It, like you said, you mentioned before, you need that little push out of your comfort zone, you know, because you'll never, you know, you could be just at home making things all the time, and you've just got to expose yourself, you know, take a risk, you know, haven't you? And just, you know, and like you said, if nobody gives you an order, they're not rejecting you. It's just whatever it is, it's not right for them, but you'll always get something, and, you know, you might glean a bit of information that, you know, or maybe, as you say, that mightn't be the right place ever for you, you know. So it's always, you'll always get some useful and valuable information. But so again, just another, I don't know, that always stuck with me. I can't, that exercise, and we all talked about it afterwards, and now we look and think, what was wrong with us, you know? And again, somebody else once said, you know, you've got to remember, like with buyers especially, they have shelves to fill, you know, they want you as well, you know, as much as you want them. It's just sort of,
it's a big kind of mysterious kind of
really
fear that buyers are out to get you. They're not, because they want to support and nurture you. They want your stuff to sell because of course they have KPIs and budgets to meet, and they have sales to ensure that they are kept happy in their job. But it's fascinating to see that you've broken that kind of that mystique, but also you're so comfortable now in being in front of buyers, come back to showcase. And I'm fascinated though, because you are so experienced as a maker and as a designer. I suppose, what other advice would you give to budding creatives? Maybe they'll go to showcase for the first time. What else would you say to them to kind of do or even not do?
Well, again, you just got to go to the events. And I never mind, I always know when someone comes up to me, and I was that person in the early days, going to showcase, you know. And again, you'd feel, you don't want to take up someone's time that has a stand, but you'll always kind of find a little moment and see when they're quiet, and ask for information, and just go see what it is. You'll always get something. You have to go to the event, really, you know, if it's something you think you want to do. And again, you've got to try things. Yes, sometimes, you know, I remember there's no guarantee it's going to work, you know, but you have to. It was something. I remember I went a couple of years. I remember thinking, I will never go. The next time I go back to showcase, I'm going to be this side of, you know, the customer. I'm going to be this side. And then I remember that day, oh my gosh, because what was really hard, and I have a really good friend, she runs the linen shirt company. We both went to NCAD. She's amazing support. And she really helped me, again, getting all my, you know, line sheets together and everything. And she said, look, this is really tough, Lou, because you've got to, all at the same time, you're getting your website together, you know, your swing tags, your marketing material, like everything you're having to figure out, you know, all together at once. But can you imagine what it's going to be like next year? You'll just update your website, you'll update your price sheet, you'll have the format done. But she said, this is hard, because I remember I stood there nearly in shock in the first day thinking, oh my God, like, you know, and it was that old adage, you know, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. So, but there is so much help out there. Like I say, if you could be, you know, if there was programs, because even Leader run programs, you know, Leader are in a lot of regions, and I've gone to Excel, you know, days and different things. Just find out, try and ask around, talk around and see. And, you know, again, just try and get as much help as you can, and don't be like, it will be hard. It's sort of pushing through. Don't give up, isn't it? And
it's that first time of doing everything, because as you say, that first initial trade show, that first initial meeting with the buyer is always a scary one. But I suppose it's that homework you've done, that preparation, that once you've done it and someone smiles and is nice to you, everything gets a bit easier.
It does. And again, and a lot of it, it's what you've built up inside you. It probably isn't as hard as you think it is. You're overthinking absolutely everything. Have I photographed the scarf the right way? Have I it's the copyright, is everything. It can all be changed and everything can be tweaked. It's like somebody said, is it the Saturday Night Live SNL? Is it the Saturday Night Live show? You know, the one in America. It goes on not when it's ready. It goes on at 11 o'clock at night. It's you know what I mean? It's like that's when it starts. Yeah. And it's the same. Like you've just got you can only do your best. You know, try and be as ready as you can. And again, that's why the enterprise zone was good, because I think buyers kind of know that, listen, these people are up here, maybe this is their first or second year. You know, I think if I'm right, you can have 3 years up there, but generally people up there, maybe 1 or 2 years. You're early people, and they'll give you a chance, give you a little order, you know, this kind of thing. And and again, you've just got to ask. Just don't be afraid to ask, you know. And I'm trying to think whatever else. I'm sure there's so many other things.
It sounds like an incredible journey, but I think at least one that you were quite open to and willing to do, because again, as I keep saying, you're so good at the making part, the designing part. It's all these little things that people don't necessarily talk about.
It's the business side, as you say. There's two sides of that. There's that creative side, and if you can sort of marry the two, or, you know, and actually it can be really exciting, as you say, when you get your first order and then you get it's really the thrill, or, you know, it's like, it's good. And again, you'll always have that little bit of fear, but I think I've seen that really good little it's a little piece going around with David Bowie, and if you look it up, he's saying you know, it's in order to find growth, you need to just step out of the shallow into water where your feet are not, they're just about to touch the ground. They're not quite touching the ground. I think that's what he said. And you know, that little bit of trepidation you get. So you're not in danger, but you're not exactly in your comfort zone. You're just like feet just touching the ground. He said that's exactly where you want to be, you know. And it's like, so it's that was another thing. I think it was with Leader I did this Excel course, and the tutor said, be comfortable with being uncomfortable, because I was getting a bit upset again at the beginning. It was all online. It was during COVID. And you know that feeling, you get a little bit upset when you're not quite getting it, and it's all a little bit too much, and you're thinking, why aren't I getting it? But she said, this is fine. It was accepting, you know, be comfortable being uncomfortable. It'll be fine, because you will graduate to being comfortable. You know, it's all new. You will get it. Just take it. Just kind of like, you know, breathe slowly, whatever it is, and just like, I will get this. I'll ask. It might take me twice. It's like learning to drive. Some people do it in the 10 lessons. Some people need 50. You'll get there, you know. So
it's a journey for sure, and I think you're learning by the sounds of all the time, which is amazing. Well, Camille, last question. What's coming up for you then over the next few months?
So we just had I've just been given a stand number for Showcase. I'm really excited.
Lovely.
And so I'm just kind of thinking, like, I kind of have the setup and everything, and you know, but I'm trying to think again, each year you want some little thing just to sort of like, you know, make it a little bit more visually, you know, exciting or something, and again, challenge yourself. So working on all of that, and then again, as I said, my whole collection always comes from a point of like historical textiles. So I'm part of an internet, well, it's a European research group, because I would love to do a PhD. I would love, you know, and I've spoken to NCAD over the last few years. I won't start it this year, you know, but maybe next year I'll sort of look for the funding and everything, and all the information, all the research. It'll be on Irish textiles, you know, and predominantly, you know, more or less the Irish shawl and everything, you know, and the history of it, tracing it back to Scotland, and then even further back, you know, to Iran and Babylonia and everything. But it's so that's always going on in the back, and I'm always speaking to people and doing my detective work, trying to find out, you know. So that's that. But as I say, it always informs, you know, the designs. So it's planning, sampling. So I'm in the sampling stage, and again, getting out some new styles for winter, and a few more accounts. Again, like I've just got in with Moley, the Museum of Literature Ireland, which is really exciting, and again, so maybe like thinking of maybe going down the museum route, which would, you know, with again, my research, it kind of, you know, I'm always like at the curators in the museums anyway, so for information. So again, you know, that's what's kind of keeping me busy. And again, you never, like, Showcase just comes around, you know, and you've got to remember, like, people stop, you won't get anything, you know, like coming up to Christmas, any of the mills that, you know, and then they don't, like, let's say the Italian people, or the, you know, if it's the digital printing, you know, you won't get anything, but you might even have anything back for Showcase. You need to be really on it now. So, and that's it, just to plan well in advance. And yeah, so I think it's kind of as a showcase, and then like I've got some workshops coming up. And again, another thing, like now that we're coming, you know, we're coming out of COVID and everything, something I've always wanted to do is develop some really tailored weekend away workshops, you know, for like textiles, you know, sort of to deliver in a beautiful setting. And there's a few that have happened in Ireland, and I have like a colleague, and we're sort of talking about it, but that would need huge planning, because you know, once you do it, it has to be done really right, you know. So, but that would be like for next year. And I think, yeah, and that's it. So,
Incredibly busy woman, and truly inspiring, because I think there's got to be lots of up and coming makers and creators listening to this saying it's not as hard as we seem, but actually I do have to push myself. I have to push myself out of the box. I have to get out of my studio or my bedroom where I'm making and actually go and learn the business side of the business as opposed to just make. So I think you've been so honest today about pushing yourself outside and actually the joy that comes with that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. And I say there's so many programs out there, and it's just sort of like, just ask and find, you know, just as they go to Elio and see, how can you help me? You know, again, it could be like start your own business course. You don't even have to have the product. You just need an idea, and then take it from there. You'll find out the supports, you know, as you progress through, you know, whatever's available. You know, start with that, and there's always something to follow on. You know, you tap in then with the Design Crafts Council if it's a craft product, you know, whatever it is. So yeah. So
amazing advice, Lou. I am so thrilled that
thanks,
we've
Melissa.
finally caught up today and done this. Delighted to, and thank you to the local enterprise office here in Mayo for sponsoring this episode. Lou, give us your website address before I let you go.
Yes, so it's www.loubrennan.com. Yeah, loubrennan.com.
Fantastic. And I'll pop that in the show notes as well.
Lovely.
If you've enjoyed today's podcast, please, please, please like and share it, especially if you know any up and coming new makers, even someone with an idea. I'm sure they'll truly enjoy today's episode. So until next time, thanks so much for listening.